As promised, I'm bringing on now Mike Barber, ACC writer for Richmond Times-Dispatch. Mike, good morning. How you doing, man?
I'm excellent. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here in Phoenix. We have a guy now in Ryan Dunn who, this is a guy that I was clamoring for. Obviously, I'm sure you didn't actually know that or be able to hear that, but my whole thing was Ryan or we riot. This Suns team needed a wing defender, needed a long athlete, needed to be able to just defend better on this team. So what exactly, just from your point of view and outlook, what are the Phoenix Suns getting in Ryan Dunn?
I think you pegged it perfectly. I mean, this is a guy who is an elite defender. He comes to the league NBA ready on that end of the court. I was walking into a game this season at Boston College, and I was talking to a scout, and Ryan had a pretty bad year shooting the basketball. And I asked the scout, what the outlook was, and he said, Ryan can work that out. We've seen Ryan hit shots. He said, if you take a Virginia player, and particularly if you take Ryan Dunn late in the first round, early in the second, you didn't waste your pick because you've got a guy who can play lockdown perimeter defense from day one in the NBA. He's a great help defender. He's a great rim protector. The offense, Ryan and his family believe it's there. He was a great scorer in high school. I know a lot of guys were. And he wasn't much of a defender. He's become an elite defender in college under Tony Bennett at UVA. The offense, if they get anything, and he's a great cut guy, backdoor cuts, coming off screens. You can throw him alley-oops. So in Ryan Dunn, you've got a guy who, at the very least, is an NBA-ready defender.
So that would be the biggest thing for the Suns. This team, a lot of Suns fans, I'll just familiarize it with you. They wanted a backup point guard. You're not taking the ball out of Bradley Beal and Devin Booker's hands. They wanted a different center in Yusuf Nurkic. But in reality, the supply and demand in the NBA is wing defenders. It's just not there. So you have to be able to take a shot in the dark. Why did Ryan Dunn fall to the Phoenix Suns last night to all the way to 28? The Suns felt so confident. They traded back, got assets, and still got the guy that I believe they wanted. Is it just the shooting? Is there something else? I mean, it seems like the ball handling and everything is there. What's the downside? Why did a guy like this fall to 28?
Yeah, it's just the offense. It really is. I mean, because if you're talking about character, he's a great character guy. He comes from a family. He actually agreed to walk on at Virginia. It's a wild story. He was, being recruited, offered a scholarship. The scholarship got filled. And they went back to Tony Bennett and said, we don't care about the scholarship. We want Ryan Dunn to play for you. We believe you can develop him into a pro. He comes from a great family. His brother is a first-round draft pick in Major League pitcher. So the character's there, the leadership was there, the athleticism, the length. It's just bad shooting. He shot it terribly from three. He lost confidence in three, and it impacted the team now. Don't be unsure about that. Teams stopped guarding Ryan from three-point range, and were able to double and stay on other guys and really made things hard for Virginia offensively. And as you may or may not know out there, Virginia's no offensive juggernaut to begin with. But the thing was, when you talk to Ryan, you talk to his father, his brother, his agent, Ryan in the workouts, he shot it really well. He has that ability. When he plays with confidence and steps into that three, he can be a catch-and-shoot guy. He can come off screens. It's there. I do believe it's the offense that knocked him down where it did, because like I said, if you pick Ryan Dunn, you didn't waste your pick because he can play defense in the league right now.
He's an ACC all-defensive guy, so, I would agree with you there. The defense is there. It's exactly what the Suns needed on this team. However, let me just add this caveat. With Bradley Beal, with Devin Booker, with Kevin Durant, is there a way that pressure is alleviated off him from having to score, that he feels like his scoring is just a plus at this point? Is there that pressure that can help with this young man's shooting ability that, hey, I don't have to knock it down from three, but if I do, awesome. Is that something that can alleviate the pressure for Ryan Dunn, or is that something that as well is just going to come with time?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a few areas. One, he's not going to feel like if he doesn't score, the team isn't going to score, which Virginia's offense, it did bog down. And sometimes, the pressure on the guys at Virginia was, if there's an open shot and you miss it, who knows when the next one's coming. I think that'll be very different. The other thing is when you have guys like Durant who can get to the rim, who can do things like that, Ryan sliding backdoor, throwing alley-oops to him, I mean, he can get 8 to 10 points a game. I'm not exaggerating that way, just cutting off other guys' actions. And I think he's in a great fit there because, like you said, they don't necessarily need his offense. He'll be able to get some easy buckets, I think, with the way he plays going to the rim and cutting. And I think he will find his confidence. I think just being a first-round pick in the NBA draft probably switches that kid's mindset right from day one, right? His whole life has been, I want to be an NBA draft pick. Now he's picked in the first round. That's a nice affirmation for all the work you've done and your ability. I think he's got a chance to really be a steal, one of the steals of the draft.
We're talking to Mike Barber, ACC writer for Richmond Times-Dispatch. You mentioned the steal of the draft. I absolutely believe that. I absolutely believe the reasoning why he can be the steal of the draft is because not only does he fit what the Suns need, he was a guy that was highly sought after defensively, didn't fit a lot of other teams' molds because other teams need scorers. I believe this guy can absolutely be the missing piece to a Suns puzzle. So let me ask you this. The athleticism. It's not a necessarily very athletic team with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Bradley Beal will leave out of that conversation. The athleticism of Ryan Dunn. If he's not being able to hit open shots, is he a guy that can get to the basket with the first step? Is he a guy that, you mentioned the backdoor lobs, is the athleticism being understated for Ryan Dunn?
Oh, I think so, and not by anybody here who's watched him play. I mean, he plays above the rim. He's an explosive athlete. He's a tremendous leaper. It's funny, when you heard guys talking about Ryan going into the draft, it's like they were watching two different players, right? They would look on the defensive end and talk about his rim protection, how explosive, how he could drop back on help defense and block a shot. And then at the offensive end, it's like they forgot he had those physical skills. He can go up and get an alley-oop. He can go up and get a rebound and slam it home. And I do think he's got a good enough first step to get to the rim. Now, he did it in the ACC. Can he do it in the NBA? I don't think he's going to make his money that way. But absolutely, depending on the matchups he draws, depending on the tension that a guy like Durant or Booker is going to draw, there's going to be some room and some space for Ryan to operate. And, that's where he's dangerous, cutting through that paint, going back door, getting up to the rim. I think he's going, like I said, I think he's going to contribute enough offensively until he finds his stroke that he's going to be worth having on the floor for what he brings on the other end. He's,
not a freshman guy, stayed an extra year in college. This is a guy that, tell me if I'm crazy here, playing in the ACC with Duke, North Carolina, a historically very good basketball conference, is there a level of maturity you get from staying an extra year in college, wherever that may be, for any situation? But is there an added extra step from playing in the ACC, bringing that maturity to the NBA, and the leadership factor? Is that being understated for a guy like Ryan Dunn? Or am I being kind of crazy here that just playing in the ACC, playing in a really good program in Virginia, is a level of maturity that you can carry to the NBA, a level of maturity and leadership that the Suns need?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Ryan assumes that role there, right? Because he is a rookie. He is not a lottery pick, but he's not a guy who's afraid to lead. He's not a guy to tell you what he sees on the floor. Both him and Reese Beekman, I thought that was one of the big changes this year for Virginia when they really got going defensively, was they would just huddle, the five of them on the floor, right? Ryan Dunn, Reese Beekman, and whoever else was on the floor, and they would just talk about what they're seeing and what they need to do, where they're rotating too slow, where the help needs to come from, things like that. And I think all of that is just playing more basketball, high-level basketball. Ryan was not a high-level recruit initially. He went off and he played down in Florida in an academy, and he changed schools, and he came back to a kind of a powerhouse school closer to Long Island, to New York, where he grew up. So he hadn't played a ton of, even when he went down to the academy, he wasn't on, what they call like the A teams. He was playing down, and he's just been developing and learning. And the ACC, I think you're right. It's kind of, my kids, they like to put their rocks in a tumbler, and they get all polished and shiny after they spend a day in there, or 2 days, or a week. And I think that's Ryan. I think he's been polished by the ACC to where he's got some savvy on the court that now complements those physical skills that we've been talking so much about.
A guy with a chip on his shoulder. I messaged Mike Barber very late last night. He's willing to come on the show. That's what it is. East Coast, is probably a little bit later for him. We appreciate you coming on the show. ACC writer for Richmond Times-Dispatch. Also, the Teal and Barber podcast. Mike Barber will be listening, will be following. Check out his work. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, and enjoy watching Ryan play.
We will.